This is the Seven Figure Agency Podcast. Discover the strategies and techniques to grow a highly successful and profitable digital marketing agency with your host, Josh Nelson.
I'm so excited to have with us today Kelsey Outram from Lift Auto Marketing. Kelsey, thanks so much for being here, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Josh.
So Kelsey's had explosive growth in his agency over the last, I call it like the last 2 years. I'll let him tell the story. But if you're excited about this and you're on with us live, give me a yes or give me a $ in the comments because this is going to be a great, great interview. As a matter of fact, in our entire seven-figure agency community of several hundred digital marketing agencies, Kelsey and his wife, Jen, were rated our fastest growing agency of the year. So let's say congratulations to Kelsey. So before I get in and I kind of steal all your thunder, give us an overview, like kind of tell us, your agency, who you serve, and kind of where you guys sit in terms of number of clients and monthly recurring revenue today.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I appreciate you having me on here, Josh, and great for this opportunity. But so our company, Lift Auto Repair Marketing, we joined Seven Figure Agency end of July 2021. And so that's right around when we picked our niche and created our niche agency there. And then right now in current time, we're at 128K MRR. And that equates to like 72 locations nationwide with 55 owners. So it's because some owners have multiple locations that we manage for them.
So good, man. Congratulations. In that short of period of time to have that much growth is just tremendous. So you're obviously focused on the automotive repair industry, which is a great, vibrant, growing niche, but not an easy niche by any stretch. Yep. I definitely want to hear about like how you chose the niche and kind of what you're selling to the industry and what you're doing to deliver great results. But before we go there, so when you started with us back in July, where were you in the agency? Approximately how many clients, how much recurring revenue? Was it a zero start? Like kind of where were you guys at that point?
Yeah, so originally we were just a general agency. We were called Mixed Digital Marketing. It was our general agency here in the local Austin, Texas area, helping local businesses. That's what we did and focused on. And then from there, we kind of got capped out at right around 20K. We could never cross that 20K per month. Like it was like a ceiling that we're just like, we'd get close and then we like lose a client and then we gain a client. Like we kind of just sort of back and forth with this dance and we just couldn't really break that barrier. And then eventually, we found your coaching. Actually, my wife found your book through a Facebook ad. She read the book, told me I needed to read the book. I read the book. We joined the coaching agency and yeah, the rest is history.
So kind of from a generalist agency at about 20K and kind of bumping up there to now over 128,000 in a niche with a great growth model going. If you could think back at that time, like what were like 3 of the big challenges you were looking to solve for that, kind of being part of Seven Figure Agency helped you through?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the hardest challenges was because we were a generalist agency, it was hard to know who the next like target audience should be or the next client should be. It was like, we're supporting everybody, anyone, we can help anyone. So it'd be like, we're driving down the road. I see like a truck like that has it wrapped and I see a phone number like, oh, that's someone that we could help. Or you see get a flyer in the mail. It's like, oh, that's someone we could help. So again, reaching like the right people all the time, it got very draining and tiring there. And so that's what kind of created a lot of the ebbs and flows. And then at the same time, I worked corporate before. I have a finance background, so that's what I did. And then we were kind of dual, like I was doing that as well as we were running our agency. So also doing 2 things at the same time was very difficult to be able to properly scale. So and just a lot of those elements that kind of went into place before joining.
So it's kind of like choosing the niche, simplifying the model, getting a more accelerated growth program in place. The question everybody wants to know and kind of that comes up often is, how did you choose the niche? You're working with auto repair shops. Like, why did you decide on that niche, and how did you land there?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I know a lot of times people usually have like a pretty firm foundation in that niche before you choose it. Our story is a little bit different in terms of we didn't really have a firm foundation in this niche, but there was just a lot of things based on like our personal environment that kept pointing to it. And so where both of our grandfathers, like they had backgrounds in and out of automotive. They're kind of like, there's a love of cars there. And then my son, he was 3 or 2 at the time, and he has a huge garage set in his room and things like that. There's like so much car involvement. And I was like, hey, this must be something that we need to try and go and support. And so from there, did some research on the industry, making sure that we could be a value add more so. And then we saw that we could, and then so we took the leap and just did it.
Love it. So it was like a hypothetical niche. You had, background family-wise in that particular space. What was the approach to get the first couple of clients in the niche? Because I know sometimes it's like, okay, we're going to try this niche, whatever it is, auto repair in your case. What worked to get your foot in the door in the industry and kind of get your first handful of case study?
Yeah, I mean that it was hard in the very beginning. I mean, I'll be very transparent. Like it was just a lot of cold calling, cold outreach to just as many different people as possible. And there's this like, yes, through auto repair shops, there's always someone else that answers the phone. And I'm not expecting to hear from the owner. So then getting to that point where even meeting with the owner was really hard. And so our first few, I mean, I think it was either through Facebook or LinkedIn, it would pique enough interest of someone where then eventually got to meet with them. They wanted to take a chance with us, took the chance. Thankfully, we were able to provide good and great results for them. And then slowly but surely, word of mouth, along with just the consistent building of the funnel, is what kind of led to growing even more.
So was it content on Facebook, or was it like DMing people? Hey,
it was a lot of DMs. Honestly, it was just like a lot, because we were starting to develop content like based on just some of the teachings within the coaching agency and different things that we wanted to put out there. But I mean, that all takes a little bit of time to be able to develop and put out there. So at the same time of doing that, it was like, okay, I just need to message people and just like be in front of people as often as possible. And then, I mean, you try enough times. I mean, you just need a few takers in the very beginning to just kind of get that start.
I love it. So it was kind of like, there's a couple ways to go about cold outreach, right? You can send cold emails, you can cold call, you can cold drop in, or you can, prospect by chat. So it sounds like the play for you was prospect by chat. Start these conversations. What would you say you had more success on the Facebook side or on the LinkedIn side or Instagram?
Yeah. I mean, so within our auto repair industry, a lot of the owners primarily are on Facebook. And so that's, I mean, right now I have Facebook open right now. I'm like, not in the sense of like me needing to scroll through Facebook, but I know just a lot of our target audience is there. And so I make sure I'm always available on Facebook. So I quickly came to that realization, but actually one of our very first clients actually found us through LinkedIn. And like, I wasn't nearly as frequent on there, but it was like, we want to be on as many different medias as possible. So I was like, okay, let's post here, message people this way, whatever worked at that time. And so that's kind of how it happened. But majority now is all through Facebook within our industry.
Love it. So like cold outreach was how you got your first handful of clients. I know you've done a really good job shifting from chase to putting in content and getting clients to come to you and creating lots of great case studies and great content. What's working best for you right now in terms of landing new clients? Obviously, you've had this velocity of growth from there to 128,000 plus in monthly recurring. Talk us through what's working best today.
Yeah, so I think one of the best things we did in the very get-go was creating a Facebook group. That was like one of the best things we could have done. And it was daunting at first. I was like, we're literally starting a Facebook group from zero. And I don't have very many mutual friends on Facebook that are owners and sort of things like that. So really all I did was I just kept adding owners as friends on Facebook nonstop. I devoted like buckets of time every single day just to add people as friends, and then also message them about the group. And then slowly but surely people joined. And then, I mean, most of the time I had to manually invite in the very beginning. Like that was the only way people were going to join and gain any traction to begin with. So you just have to devote that time. But now, like, the Facebook group has well over 1,000 owners in it, and people are joining this organically now. I'm not having to manually invite all these people that I have to be friends with. It just kind of naturally occurred. But the beginning, it was like literally just I click, add friend, until like Facebook tells me, nope, you can't add any more friends today. I was like, okay, fine, I'll wait until tomorrow, and then I'll do the same thing all over again. That's kind of how the process works.
Love it. So let's talk a little bit about like how you nurture that group. So you started, direct messaging, adding people to a Facebook group. Like, what are you doing in the group to create engagement or to kind of convert those people in the group to appointments and sales?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so now the big reason to do that was calling. Like I quickly realized calling the shops, I wasn't reaching the owner pretty much ever. And so I was like, how do I go about reaching the owner? We tried the cold email route as well. Never hear back, and probably because it went to spam or whatever it may be. And so that's where through Facebook, I found that was where I was actually getting to connect with owners, and they would actually respond back. And so that's okay. That's what we need to devote all our time and efforts there. And then within the group now, that's where we have regular webinars, we have podcasts and things that we post directly into there, which again, it doesn't go through a gatekeeper, it goes straight to the owner when those notifications appear. And then we also have regular posts that just kind of create engaging, like just communication within other owners. Haven't had as many people post naturally as I was just hoping would happen, but I mean, that's totally fine. I mean, there can be as many people that communicate and respond in the comments. That totally works for me. But then from there, naturally, as we have our webinar invites, they're able to schedule strategy sessions through there. I mean, any descriptions, we always make sure that people are aware of that. Hey, you can book a time with myself at any time. We'll make the time to go over what you have going on. And if we're a good fit, perfect. And we'll work with you. If not, hopefully at least we gave you some good, useful information to help at least better where you were before you talked with us.
I love it. So you've got this group, you're putting out content. When it comes to, like, it feels to me like you're doing a lot of podcast style interviews like this, like where you're interviewing other shop owners or influencers in the space. It also feels like you're creating unique content. Do you tend to keep that just in the group so that you can make that the place they go, or do you put it in the group and YouTube and other places as well? What's your format there?
We kind of put it all over the place. I mean, we always put it, most things directly. There's some things maybe we would put only in the group because it's just like, it doesn't make sense anywhere else. But for the most part, if there's anything coming from our business, yeah, we'll post it in the group, we'll post it on our page, we'll post it on LinkedIn. Like, again, the more eyes that see it, the better, because we never know, maybe someone just doesn't go on, they don't have it. And so there's just other avenues that we need to be able to reach out to them that way. But yeah, that's kind of been the overall process.
Love it. So what's been your frequency? I'm a big believer that, if you can just do one webinar and you can do one live interview like this per month, you can be extremely prolific in any niche. Like, what's the frequency that you've been following as you roll out webinars, interviews, and other content? Yeah,
so the goal is always one a month on both. My wife is pushing me to have 2 interviews a month, so to just always again, for overall practice as well, in terms of just being a better communicator, because it's the biggest thing we preach within our company. And just, I think a big thing that is helping set us apart is our level of communication. So in order to do that, as a leader of the company, I need to make sure that I'm locked in terms of that communication ability. And so having one extra interview a month isn't the worst thing that I could be doing with my time. And so that's another goal that we're trying to consistently increase and improve on.
Love it. So one fully syndicated webinar per month, at least one interview. Talk to me about the interview strategy. I think that this is one of those plays that agencies that use it, you get better positioning, you get access to people you might not have had access to otherwise. Sometimes you can even land clients just by having them on and interviewing them. Yep. What's been your strategy to get interviews with clients and with people in the industry?
Yeah. So in the very beginning, I was just trying, like, through the cold outreach process. If I'd realized, like, hey, this person's actually really happy with who they're working with, but like just where they're at in their shop ownership, maybe if they have multiple locations or they've just reached a certain level of revenue with them, I'm like, that's a great person. Like, regardless of if I get to meet with them in a strategy session, that's a great person to be able to interview, because that's the level of wisdom that they have that other owners would love to hear about is great. Because again, creating a podcast, it was daunting at first, but it's a very simple process in terms of, like, we already have a webcam. Everyone's familiar with Zoom these days. As long as the audio can at least come up somewhat crisp, that's really all you need. And then you just record the screen and kind of go from there. And so that's where I picked the first few. And then from there, I would honestly reach out then to the people that we had successful interviews with and be like, hey, actually, do you have any other recommendations of other people that you think would be great to interview that has successes? Again, people surround themselves with others that have success as well. So I figured there would be the best people to reach out to, better than myself just hunting these people down, because then it's a good leeway in terms of, hey, this person told me that you would be a great interview person. And like right away, they're like, yeah, absolutely, I would love to share my thoughts on this topic or whatever it is. And that's kind of how we created this snowball effect of having our interviews sort of lined up.
So good. So you're interviewing people on the podcast, you're getting that into the group. That warms that group up, and you've also got a reason to email out and to post on YouTube and other social channels. What's your mix on the podcast? And hopefully as you're listening to this, you're like, yeah, this is a play I could use. What he said, it was relatively easy to set up. Just gets people on Zoom or some other format. Maybe it's Restream or StreamYard or one of these others. And you just ask questions, right? It creates great content. What's been your mix of actual owners of successful shops versus, let's say, like coaches, consultants, big names in the industry that are just have value content to add to the world?
Yeah. I say majority of our guests are always a shop owner. Right now, this year, I'm kind of branching out in terms of just some other, maybe like an arm's length away from being a shop owner. Maybe there's a vendor within the auto repair industry or whatever that means. So I'm just kind of dabbling with it just to see how it works. So like for example, I had a financial advisor that specializes in 401k, and not that is exactly fitting for like an auto repair shop owner, but all auto repair shop owners need to think about, okay, making a 401k and having match and things like that for their shop. So I thought, yeah, maybe that could be like arm's length reach of making sense. And so we're dabbling with those different things, but majority of the time it's a shop owner. If they're a coach themselves and they're a shop owner, even better, because that just, expands the clout and expertise that other people, when they listen, can buy into, and knowing that not only do they do this for themselves, they're doing this for others. As again, being more service oriented, I think comes off a lot more organic as well. So those are the things we kind of look for.
Love it. I think it's interesting. You said most of your interviews are with shop owners. And so if you're listening to this, you're like, man, I've been cold calling, I've been sending emails. I'm having a hard time. Kelsey had the same challenge, and he found a workaround. He was like, hey, I'm going to set up a Facebook group. I'm going to connect with my prospects on Facebook. And then I'm going to interview successful people and actually give them value, right? There's so many people that like consultants and trainers, and they can find that information, but rarely can they hear from the person that's actually winning in their industry and kind of hear what they're doing and what's working best. And then by creating that content, you have affinity with success and people in the industry that are successful. That leads to other people wanting to be around you. That leads to consultants saying, hey, how do I get featured on your list? And so it really creates this snowball effect. So Kelsey, this is good stuff, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I think a step further than that too, when you're creating this like long form, so the interviews usually last around 45 minutes to an hour. That's been like kind of the sweet spot that they've just kind of lasted. But when you have all that content, you can then snip it into reels and turn it into so many different things now and it's rarely, I think when you make the podcast, like for me, I was like big on, like, the audience is not there to listen to me. That's what the webinars are for. Like, that's where I show the expertise on the marketing side of things. But the podcast, that's for the owner and their platform. This is an opportunity for them to like, most of them have never done it before. They're like, oh, this is really like, I'm a little bit nervous, but I love to be able to share a little bit about my story and things. And those are the perfect people I love having, because then like you just warm them up. You give them a lot of very friendly questions that are easy for them to answer. And then you can just kind of feel their confidence is kind of ride throughout it. And people, again, resonate with that. They want to be at that level and being able to do that. So yeah, if you're scared to make a podcast, do not just take the action and do it.
Love it. And you have the opportunity to get the attention of prospects. If you cold call them, say, hey, you want more leads for your business? They're like going to hang up with you, or the person, hey, I see you're doing amazing things with your business. Could be a plumbing company, could be an auto shop, could be a roofing company. Would love to have you on my show and feature your success. Mm-hmm. Which one do you think they're more likely to take? Right? Feature my success. And then when you feature them, now you get to know them a little bit. They may or may not be an immediate business opportunity, but you've got a much better chance of having a business conversation that could lead to something, that play, than just cold calling them and asking if they want more leads. Give me a 1 in the comments if you're watching this live or after the fact, if that makes sense and if that resonates. Excellent. So, the other thing I see you do that's pretty cool is it feels like you're creating case studies from your active client base. What's been your approach for developing those client wins that you can parlay into more and more opportunity? Yeah,
so we're really big on having, first off, monthly meetings are very crucial, but within those meetings, we have monthly surveys as well, in terms of just gauging the level of confidence that they kind of have in the relationship we're building with them. And so the people that are obviously leading towards being very happy. You know, they have big wins immediately. Those are like, let's get a testimonial from them. But it's just like, granted, we're not here to take 100% of the credit of why their win happened, but based on some of the things that we're sharing and leading to kind of these positive results, that's where we believe that testimony will become more trustworthy to anyone else that sees it. And so we immediately grab those. They're about a minute in length, probably, right around that range of just them generally talking about their experience with us and how things have been. Usually they're really happy in that moment. And then that's a great little snippet that then we kind of blast out there onto social media as well.
So good. I think you've done a lot of things really, really well. But like when you think about the model, right, you chose the niche, auto repair. You put together a program that was over $1,000 per month that generates results. You developed a list, and it was mostly a Facebook audience that you put into a Facebook group. And you did 3 things very consistently. And I'm sure you do a lot more than this, but at least one webinar, value-added content, at least one interview of somebody successful in your niche. And it looks like, I don't know what frequency is, but you're trying to get case studies, short videos like this where the client says, hey, I use these guys and this is the results that I'm getting, that you can then syndicate and showcase that you've got proven results in the industry, which further position you as the go-to expert in your space, which is just excellent execution. And I think one of the big reasons you're able to get to this, 128 monthly recurring revenue so quickly. What are some of the other things outside of that maybe that you're doing that you feel like are really working well?
Yeah, so I think one amazing thing that we did was write a book. It was a big dream that we had, and actually my wife and I, we started it in like November, and then she had a big goal, like let's get it done by end of January. I was like, holy moly, we're in the middle of holidays right now, and like I don't know how we're gonna accomplish this, but let's go for it. And we amazingly we did it. We ended up being our own editors in terms of like we just spent nights just side by side reading a chapter together, seeing what made sense, what didn't, and kind of from there then we launched the book. And it was another amazing, it wasn't a thing that we're like, oh yeah, everyone needs to buy our book. It was just like a huge thing that we were able to like accomplish together as a couple and as owners, and send it out to the industry. And hopefully like, we've actually gotten some good feedback in terms of people like they read the whole thing, they thought it was super helpful, and like then they met with us through it. So yeah, it's been a huge value out there too.
Yeah, so this is Drive More Business, the step-by-step guide to internet marketing for auto repair shops. You guys did an amazing job with the branding of the book. I love it. The content was like really rich content. Can't help but position you to an auto shop owner like, wow, Kelsey and Jen, they must know a thing or two about digital marketing for the auto repair industry if they publish this amazing book. So kudos on getting that done. What are you like? How are you leveraging it? Is this like a lead magnet on your website? Are you giving it away at trade shows and events? Like, what's the play beyond the position that you're leveraging this with?
Yeah. So we're giving it away when we went to our first like trade show event earlier this year, and so that was super exciting to be able to go to. Brought some books, gave those all away there. We're trying to create a better marketing campaign for it, honestly, because we did it and it was like a huge sigh of relief that, oh my goodness, we did it. And we like kind of, we posted it a few times and then that's kind of it. But now we're like huddling up in terms of like, how do we leverage this properly in terms of creating better campaigns around the book and getting it just more exposure to it that way in front of more owners. So yeah.
I think next steps for you guys on this that's going to be big is maybe a free plus shipping funnel where you're advertising to the targeted audience where they can request a free copy, mailing it out to your top Dream 100 prospects. Hey, I'm the author. I wanted to get this in your hands. Mm-hmm. Using it to get speaking opportunity. I think the next big play for you guys is you on stage at these industry conferences talking about digital marketing and SEO and reputation management and AI. And this book will be the foot in the door that they're like, oh, well, he's the author. We should have him come speak to our group.
Yeah, for sure. We're hoping it leads to kind of all those moments of getting even more and more exposure because, like you say, stage time is money time. So we definitely want to be able to get on stage one of these days and be able to share a little bit about our expertise in the marketing realm and how we do things. So
fantastic. So it sounds like a lot of what you've done is very organic, right? It's like you're putting out content. You've built this list. You've built this group. You've got this content that you're rolling out on a consistent basis. Are you doing anything from a paid search perspective, whether it's retargeting or direct advertising on Facebook to attract clients as well? Or we're like kind of like, is it all organic?
Yeah. I mean, majority of it is all organic. We rarely spend money on paid ads and things like that on our end. We did for like just pockets in time last year, but just the ROI immediately, if I'm not seeing ROI from something, and that comes just from my finance background, I immediately chop it and like, okay, let's move on to a different thing, maybe a different avenue. But the one thing we always do that we just, like a very small thing, is any testimonial, we boost $1 a day for 30 days, no matter what. Whenever it comes in, just boost it $1 a day. And I think even the audience, I don't even spend that much time like even making the perfect audience or anything like that. It's literally just people that have liked our business page, and then like that 1% degree like from them, kind of like just keep it very simple, like not think too much about it. Just it's for just natural exposure. So that's what we do consistently with just every testimonial we get.
So good. So from 0 to 7 figures, on the brink of multiple 7 figures, almost entirely organically, just putting out great content, doing 3 things consistently and well. It sounds like, the main things are the monthly webinar, the monthly featured interview, and then constantly creating a client into a case study that you can then roll out, and a small budget behind it just to make sure everybody knows Kelsey and crew know how to generate results. And there's new people saying it every single day, and they're seeing it in their news feed, and they're like, okay, at some point I should give you guys the opportunity to earn my business.
Yeah. But one thing we only post it on like our business pages. That's one thing I don't post into the group. Like I just didn't want the group to suddenly feel like it's pointing like me, like look at us. Like obviously like we post marketing tips and things like that. There's different things that we do that sort of offhand points at us, but that portion just, yes, it's someone else talking about our service, but still I just didn't feel quite as comfortable. Like, yes, this is something we should post in the group. So those, I mean, whoever, I leave it to everyone's discretion in terms of if they're creating a group or not and what they do there. But we've just leaned on the side of it's supposed to just to business.
So you're very careful to protect the group, to not feel like it's your fishing pool, but it's like, this is a value-added industry group for our niche where we're value-adding content, we're bringing people together. And so, I think that's an important distinction. Kelsey, he doesn't want to feel like he's prospecting to the group and it just exists for him to get clients, because quickly people will drop out of that group or stop paying as close attention.
Yep, exactly. Because when it feels that way, it's going to feel fake. And even if people are in the group, they're not going to engage. They're not going to do anything in there. And then it's a useless group. A big thing is we just wanted it to be a value add for the industry. And so how do we best do that? And then we kind of just brainstorm on different topics and things that we can throw in there just to create just good conversation between owners and have them connect with each other.
Love it. Loads of takeaway here, guys, on how Kelsey's landing clients and how he's had this accelerated growth. Would love to hear your takeaways in the comments specifically to landing clients, because they've done a great job on this side of the equation. I'd like to shift gears for a minute and just talk a little bit about like the program package. Like, what is it that you're selling to these auto repair shops? What does the program typically look like in your world?
So we offer 3 different programs. And so a big value add that we saw coming into the auto repair industry was there wasn't really an all-in-one option for people. They always have to piecemeal different services for the different things that they have. And that's totally fine. Like, I mean, people believe like, okay, maybe you should only be an expert in this one particular thing. But we felt like we were pretty good at doing, not pretty good, we're good at doing all the different things, and just, again, streamlining communication. We feel like that's a huge thing that is always a separator for people being happy and them being not. And so we felt like, okay, we can create a good world-class communication process that then allows them to like, hey, you just need to meet with our team and we implement it all for you. And it's across the board. So that biggest program is going to be like the website, SEO, hosting, Google Ads, social media. But then also we leverage Go High Level in terms of like we built our CRM platform on top of Go High Level. We built a lot of customizations like around that then integrates with different POS systems in our industry, that then allowed us again to just show that we really want to make the industry better, and like we're doing a bunch of different things, even technology wise, to make it better and do that. So that's our biggest program. The middle one kind of takes out some of this, like the biggest one was the idea of like, this is for an absentee owner or someone that's a little bit more established and like they have multiple shops, they just kind of need it run for them. Middle one is kind of like they're in between. They're doing well, but they're not quite at the cusp of like needing everything done for them. And so that's what we kind of created the middle one for. And then the smallest one we created was just for website SEO. That's like just more long-term ROI play, but also like an entry point for anyone that like they're trying to feel us out and see if maybe we know what we're talking about or not. And like, yeah, absolutely. Let's try us out on the smallest one, and we'll show you that we do know what we're doing, and then we can kind of work our way up from there.
So price range, like, how much?
Yeah, so so we offer month to month across the board, but then also like we have a 6 month or 12 month like I call it a loyalty discount in a sense of, hey, if you knew you were going to be with us longer, like there's $100 off a month on those different agreements. But biggest one is like $2,800, middle one is $1,900, smallest one's $1,000. So
love it. So between $1,000 and $3,000 per month.
Yep.
And you're like, hey guys, we're going to come in and really do what you need, right? Website SEO, pay-per-click, retargeting, and some marketing automation, and just bring a result, right? And in your world, it's more cars in the shop, more jobs. That's what they want, right?
Yep, exactly.
Love it. And I think one thing you guys do really, really well is client retention, right? And you guys retain the clients; they stay with you long term. What are some of the, and I know Jen shared some of the secret sauce at the last event, but like, what are some of the things you guys are doing to keep your retention high and keep those clients with you long term?
Yeah. So again, I think I'm going to preach back to the communicate. So communication and results have to go hand in hand. I mean, we can be the best communicators, but if they're not seeing any results, it doesn't even matter. But at the same time, if we're getting great results, but they don't know like that's coming from them or like that's coming from our team or anything like that, because we're not communicating that the right way, then they're going to think like, oh, we're not really doing anything for them. So I think those two things going hand in hand have been a game changer in terms of increasing the longevity of clients consistently being with us, and then realizing, hey, it's like, again, not every month is going to be like, oh, you're way higher than last month. You're way higher than last month. There's seasonality within auto repair. I mean, when it's the winter, people are homebodies. They're not going to be driving to the auto repair shop as often. So naturally, there's going to be a little bit less call volume, a little bit less cars that show up. But we're always comparing year over year, just kind of showing that consistent growth. And if for whatever reason that growth didn't happen, why? Just always answering why that could be a possibility, and then what adjustments we're making. But through having those monthly touch points, I think that's been huge as well. Like them feeling heard and feeling like, oh, yes, they are adapting, they are making strategy changes. Because again, if you're on the sidelines, you're just waiting back to hear from them. The only time you're going to hear from them is when they're pissed off and not happy about your service, and like, actually, oh no, we're switching. Like that's when you find out. So that's where we were very consistent about, hey, we know the shop owner is busy, but we're going to hunt them down to make sure that we can meet with them, because we want that time to really make sure that what we're doing is the right thing for them.
I love that what you said there, kind of the balance of, we've got to generate the results, right? If they're spending $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month, they have to get results, but they also need great communication and understanding what we're bringing to the table. And I think that's part of the reason you guys do so well. Like what does the month, is it a monthly call? Is it a weekly call? And then what does that call look like in your agency? Are you just going through the reports, just kind of for the group that's thinking, man, how do we like level up our attention?
Yep. So it's a monthly call. I mean, if anyone wants to meet more often than a month, then we make sure that we make, because again, we're a service oriented business. We want to make sure we're serving them in any capacity that we can. Again, if we ever felt like we were getting taken advantage of, then that would just be a different conversation. But usually I'm fielding the types of people before they even become clients of ours. Anyway, just making sure that the right fit and partner for us. So that's not something we've ever had to run into before. But in the client meetings, they all have an account manager. The account managers both going over the reports, and more so like hearing from them how they felt the month went, in terms of both what was the revenue, what was the car count thing, how was the performance of the shop there. Because at the end of the day, you can show them, and you can manipulate reports to look as rosy as possible, or they can look horrible. But if they're not seeing the revenue growth, if they're not seeing what they care about, the ROI and things like that, it doesn't really matter what we're doing at the end of the day. So we need to make sure we're understanding that. And then, okay, yes, what we're doing was working, we're moving in the right path. Or no, what we did, yes, increased calls, but maybe they were just a bunch of spam calls that came through as a kind of a false narrative, false number. Make sure we're kind of addressing that head on and not making excuses for what's going on, things like that.
Love it. So I think that's that's important, right? I think all of the agencies that we interview on this program that have gone to 7 figures and are maintaining, this growth level are really focused on the client result, right? It's not about vanity metrics. It's not about, oh, you moved up for these keywords. It's really, did we make you money, right? At the bottom line is, did we make you money, and are we creating a good experience? And do you understand how we're focused on moving you forward? I think you guys have done a really great job with that. I know that Jen mentioned a little bit about like some strategic gifting and some cool things you guys do with gifting. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when they start with us, we always send. So we send knives. Is what we send. So we got it from the Giftology book. In terms of, because we thought long and hard about what exactly we wanted to send. Right now, I'm sure down the road we'll probably change on what the onboarding gift is. That we send some pretty fancy knives to them. It has their last name branded on there. So again, so it's very, very personal.
Nice.
All the gifts we send never have anything with our company logo on it. We've never once sent anything with Lyft on it. It's only ever their shop name or their last name. Because again, there's just power in names, and our name doesn't mean anything to them. Like, yes, we're in this relationship with them and partnering with them. I'm grateful whenever they bring up our name and refer us. But in terms of gifts, that's where we're trying to focus it on them and how grateful we are for them, because we are. Like, we wouldn't be here without them. And that's where we kind of focus our gifts on different things. My wife is the master gift idea creator, and so she'd be better in knowing like how we come up with the different gift ideas. But yeah, just different things. It's not even necessarily like, oh, this is an auto repair related gift. Like, no, it's like maybe things that go in your home or things that are just things that they would really use and be of value at the same time as being like, oh wow, that's something cool that I would have never bought for myself, but really effective.
I love that. And hopefully that resonates, guys. Obviously, sending gifts is powerful, right? It's something they're not expecting. People don't usually get a gift from their digital marketing agency provider, but then making the gift about them and something that's like personal to them versus you is going to have a whole different connotation than if you sent, a knife with your logo emblazed on it, right? It's different if it's their name or their logo. So I think that's a great example of smart gifting. There's a couple questions here I just want to try and make sure we don't miss. So you were talking about your programs. Somebody's asking, does that include ad spend, or is that just your management fee and ad spend is separate to that?
Yeah, ad spend is completely separate. So that's the one thing like we put as an asterisk to let them know well ahead of time. We don't charge a percentage based on the ad spend that they have, as big or as low of a spend that they want. We're going to manage that and make sure that it's maximized in terms of ROI there.
I think that's something everybody listening should just as a best practice, don't include the ad spend, whether it's Facebook, local service ads, Google ads. Don't include it in your management fee, right? Let them know this is our management fee, and then pay the spend separately, directly to their credit card or directly to their account. You're gonna just prevent yourself a lot of headache doing it that way. And financial accounting wise, it's just much cleaner. You know exactly how much you're netting as an organization.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we make sure that their card is what's on file for any of the ads, because we don't want to be a middle person within just the ad spend correlating that chargeback.
Yeah. Here's another question that came in. So auto repair guys are mostly busy, it seems like. How do you guys convince them that they need more? Or kind of what's your approach when somebody's like, oh, we've got too much work, we don't need you?
Yeah, I mean, again, if they're talking about like in a sales call, like, oh, like we're plenty busy, we don't need you, then I kind of pivot it towards time. Like, what does your time look like to you, and what is that value there? Can we provide value in that essence? Like, we'll make sure that you keep ramping, or also what are your goals? Are you planning on more locations eventually? Like, if that new location is going to take even more time and marketing behind that, and so we're a team that can help supplement that time so it can be hands off for them, and then be able to ensure that, yes, you are seeing that consistent revenue increase. So, but sometimes, it doesn't, if we don't make sense, if they're really happy with their current marketer or they're already seeing great results, I tell them, amazing, you found a great partner, stay with them. I'm not even trying to convince them to switch to us, because they're already happy. Like, there's no point in switching like to a different person, because at the end of the day, that's what's most important to me, is like we're a service that can be of value add. We can be a real partner. They can build a relationship and trust us. If they have that built, no need to rock the boat for no reason, just because you feel like selfishly, yes, I want them as a client. Like, no, if the time comes again where eventually down the road they're not happy with their person, they'll reach back out to you because you made an impression on them in terms of, yeah, you weren't selfish and just trying to like sell, and like, no, you shouldn't go with them and why they're bad. Like never, ever will I recommend going about that tactic at all, because it just will never come off as a trustworthy way that the owner will resonate with you.
I could not agree more. And I think to that question, if I'm talking to prospects that say they're too busy, I like that Kelsey was like, how do we pivot to maybe find the pain? If there's not a problem, there is no deal, right? Like if they don't perceive an issue, they're not going to do business, right? And you maybe be talking to the wrong people, right? If you're talking to prospects and they say, hey, I don't need any more leads, and you're just selling leads, or I don't need more business, then all right, talk to another prospect, because there's plenty of growth-minded people in your niche that have a need for what you've got to bring to the table. So you may just be talking to the wrong prospect. But I think it's right. Like if you can pivot to what about time? What about expansion goals, right? And if you can identify a problem, then there may be an opportunity. So I think that was really well said. Let's see. Okay, so here's another question is asking about exclusivity. Like, do you guys do exclusivity, or do you like just you work with everybody?
Yeah, we offer exclusivity within a certain radius around their shop, because that's what we want them to be dominant in. And so that's where we give an exclusivity range around their shop. And obviously when they have multiple locations, we give exclusivity around that. If their own locations are within the exclusivity, obviously that's up to them. Like they're the owner, they know that that's what's happening. So we're just careful in terms of the tactics that we apply to make sure that each one is getting fed properly.
Awesome. Let's see. Sean's asking how you prevent other marketers from joining your Facebook group and spamming. Has that been a concern? Is that a concern for you at all?
No, I mean, we only accept auto repair shop owners if we see that they're not, or they don't answer the questions that we have in the group. Typically, I just decline it unless I know who the person is, or I clearly see that like you click on their profile and you can see that yes, they're an auto repair shop owner. They just didn't answer the questions. Sometimes we'll make an exception and just like approve them and let them come in. But for the most part, you can tell if someone's being shady or not when they're joining the group and delete it. Some people, I'm sure, will sneak through. But at this point in time, I feel like we've built enough trustworthiness within the group and what we bring to the table that I'm honestly not stressed and worried about the competitors. I'm just like, we're focusing on what we can control and what we can apply and add, not what others are also adding. And, oh, what can we do better to stop that? Like, no, let's focus on what we can do and do it the best that we can, and the rest will take care of itself.
No doubt. Yeah, and Sean, to his point, it's your group. You control the group. You control who's in, who's out. You can ban anybody on a dime. And so it's a great thing to create an email list and to create a Facebook group, and then only bring in your right prospects or people that are going to add value to the community. And so that's how you prevent any shenanigans, even though it's rare, but there are bad actors, right? There are people that will just join groups for the sake of DMing your prospects, and so you do need to keep an eye on it. But it's not hard to prevent it. Amazing. So we've covered some great ground. Kelsey, you've grown your agency from start to 125,000+ monthly recurring revenue, crushing it for your clients. You've talked about how you're landing clients on a consistent basis and how you position yourself as the expert. You've talked about the different programs that you offer, how you structure those programs. You've talked about kind of retention strategies that you put in place to retain the clients at the level that you do, which is phenomenal. Let's talk a little bit about operations. Kind of, you guys have grown. Like, how do you keep up with the volume? How do you make sure that your quality stays strong as you continue to scale?
Yeah, that's been one of the hardest things as like our velocity of growth, and obviously then with that we need to have a team that can support that velocity, ensure then again that our clients are receiving that world-class experience. Because if we don't have enough people, that would drop off. So that's where we have a team of 11 that is amazing. Love every single one of them. And they're just, without them, our company wouldn't be at where it is today, because day in and day out, they're able to provide that consistent value for our clients that have just allowed us to help and trust our growth. One thing that I'm very careful on is that not onboarding too many clients at one time. And so our rule of thumb is 2 per week. Now, granted, I know some people are like, well, why would you cap yourself with that? Well, that onboarding experience is crucial to just like that life cycle of a client staying with you. If they have a very poor onboarding experience already, their level of expectation is really low. And then they're kind of looking for all the other pain points that they're going to see, rather than seeing like, this is world class. Yeah, maybe they had one little hiccup here, but like they're providing us so much value. Like it's a totally different mindset that's being presented. And so that's where we limit it to 2 per week. As we grow and we improve our processes, yes, maybe we'll try it with 3. But I know like this year we tried it one time where we had like 4 business days in a row just to see. And our team did amazing. They did it, but I could see the mental.
They were bursting at the seams a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
like the mental exhaustion of like, okay, all the different pieces and things that go into it. So then that's where we knew, okay, 2 for sure is where we need to stay for now. And then as we consistently build better processes, get even more people, then we can talk about increasing that.
I think that's smart. Like to recognize what your capacity is, and keep it to that. I wonder if there's ever times where you've oversold. Like, do you have a waiting list, or you just tell them, hey, we can't take you until later? Like, what's your approach to that situation?
Yep. No, I mean, for us, I just look at who the onboarding timing is, and it's like, okay, yep, we have a slot next week because there's only maybe one person that's on the docket for next week. But if there's 2 already, then we just start the next week. But I mean, right now there isn't like a pending waiting list. No one ever has to go out too far ahead into the future, because I think that 2 per week is a solid amount. I mean, if we ever run into a problem where we have this huge backup, then that's where we would probably look into, okay, maybe we need to increase the amount of team members to be able to make sure that this waiting list isn't too long. But right now it's been a solid pace. Our growth is very, very consistent and in the right trajectory. So nothing that we need to like overly rock the boat with.
And there's something that you said that I really believe, and I found to be true, is that how you start the relationship really will dictate whether they're with you 3 months down the road, a year down the road. And so really dialing in that onboarding process, creating a world-class experience, making sure that you've got quick wins baked in, really will make or break. And so wise to say, hey, let's not overdo it. Let's make sure we do well by each of the clients that come in. And so that's really, really good stuff. We got a question here. They're asking, do you onboard the clients yourself, or do you have an account manager's team that does that?
Yeah, so since I'm the main salesperson, I also show up into the kickoff meeting. So right now I'm in the process of figuring out how to like slowly peel myself out of that process too. But at the same time, I want to ensure that like that transition from, hey, you're talking to me, to then now the account manager is someone you trust. But we do have an account manager for every account now that they're the main point of contact for that person. But then obviously they can reach out to me as well when they need maybe my advice or my thought process on a particular thing that's not out of the realm. But majority of the communication once after that kickoff point is transition to going with the account manager.
Fantastic. So really important, like as you grow and as you scale, you want to be thinking through, initially you're going to sell it and you're probably going to onboard it and you're going to manage it. Quickly, you want to get to the place where you can sell it and then maybe onboard it, but somebody else manages it. And then eventually you just want to sell it and somebody else onboards it. And eventually, like you just want someone to sell it and someone else manage it. That's really when you got a self-sustaining agency. And I think that's where you guys are headed in the not too distant future.
Yep. It's going to be hard because I do really enjoy like this, not the fact that you get us, like obviously there's a high when you make a sale. It's like, oh wow, yes, someone else is trusting us to be with us. But I love building that initial relationship with so many different people. And it's like, yes, like they're similar in the sense that they're all running shops together, but they're also different. And like, so getting to be a part of that communication, like life cycle, I guess is I've really enjoyed. So that's going to be really hard for myself to like peel off.
Step out of like, you enjoy that part, right?
Yeah. And then like, but it's still like, I don't want there to just not be any relationship now with any of our clients. So kind of figuring out that balance. I think that's something that we have in our roadmap to be able to figure out, because there's no way that in order to grow the agency where we want it to grow, that I'll be able to always be the only salesperson forever. That's just unrealistic to think that way. So yeah, those are all definitely like in our roadmap, probably in the near future than I'm expecting, because we're growing pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, I think, we're talking about that at the next intensive. How do you remove yourself from the sales process, and how do you build a sales team? And I think that's going to be right on point for you at kind of where you're at in your agency.
Yep.
Okay, so Dave wants to know in your mind, how many accounts can one of your account managers handle?
That's going to it's going to depend on the account manager and their skill set, and just kind of getting a feel for them. I mean, there isn't a magic number. I mean, I know the number we're sort of taught within 7-figure agency is kind of that 30 to 35 ballpark, but it's just gonna be different within any industry you're in, within any account that you have. Just kind of that process of the touch points that they're having to deal with, because you don't want them to be overworked, but at the same time, you do not want them to not be doing much and
pulling their thumbs, right? Like, what is it that you do all
exactly,
day, right? Like, let's give you some more work.
Not really having that ability to build a relationship with them. They're just like, well, I mean, the only time I'm talking to them is going to be in the meeting or what is it? Like, there needs to be a bigger process around that. So, I mean, it's kind of on our end. My end, I'm still kind of consistently analyzing like what is a good sweet spot and amount for an account manager to do. But as long as like I trust the report cards in terms of like the surveys that come back from our clients and their happiness level, because obviously if the happiness level is starting to trend the opposite direction, then maybe it's because that account manager has too many accounts, and so then that's what we'll kind of actively adjust and think about.
I love that. Yeah, I think, we're finding the norm somewhere between 25 and 35, but it's different based on niche and it's different based on service offering, right? If you've got a comprehensive service like you guys have, maybe it's less. If you're just doing Facebook ads, right, then maybe it's a lot more, right? So it really depends. And I like what you said there about the happiness scorecards. Like how often are you surveying your client base, and what does that look like inside your agency?
Yeah, so it's once a month that we send it out to all of our clients. We get about 25% back.
Yeah, so, right? Like you wish you get 100, right?
Yeah, I wish I get them all. So we're trying to create a process now, like, because we're already meeting with them no matter what once a month, at least getting that touch point. So if we don't see a survey filled out by their monthly meeting, let's fill it out together with them. Granted, I would rather them do it on their own, because then you can get a truer representation of how they're feeling. Not like, hey, you're with a team member, be careful what number you're sharing in terms of your happiness level. It might seem a little bit fake, but again, at the end of the day, I'd rather have the data point of just how things are at the shop. So we track their revenue, their ARO, their car count, things like that. And at the same time, okay, what is their happiness level? What are things that we can do better? I don't care if it's a 10. What can we do better for you to ensure that, again, we're providing the best service that we possibly can? Because through that, we've even gotten ideas of different things that we can modify or update within maybe our CRM or whatever it may be. So it's a very useful just to get different kind of communications with your clients.
So I think that's a great tip to grow and scale in your agency. If you aren't surveying the client base, you don't know, right? Maybe you think you're doing great, but they're unhappy. A survey, even if you don't get 100%, gives you a pulse on how you're performing as a business. Do you use a third-party app? Do you do that right at a high level? Like, what is the mechanism for you guys to manage that today?
We're doing it right at a high level. So we built a survey within there, and then we have all our clients tagged as like a client. So then that way it's easy filter to then send to that list.
So good. So good. So another question I had, and I know we're getting close to the end here. If you guys have questions, post them in the comments. If you're getting value, type value, because I think this has been tremendously valuable and lots of great insights here. But you're a husband and wife team. You and Jen, you guys started this, you run it together. Like, what are some of your secrets to thriving as a couple with at least one kid? You guys have one.
We have two.
Two kids.
Yeah.
In a thriving business, like, what are some of your secrets to making that work?
Yeah, so I would not have it any other way. I absolutely love and adore working with my wife. I mean, maybe some people are in different situations where it doesn't work the best for them, but I love it. We balance each other out so well, and like she's a lot more organized, and so she's very good at creating the process and what that should look like and keeping that clean. For me, everything is just magically in my head, and I'm just like, yeah, this is how it should flow, and it makes sense here. And I know, and like I just always accidentally think that people know what I'm thinking and talking about, when obviously not. I didn't say it out loud. It's all in my head. So it's really good having her to be able to balance me out in that sense. But with that, she's starting to work a little bit more because we've grown so quickly and like more than I've wanted to. But thankfully, I mean, the whole reason we started the business was so that way we could have a means to be able to stay home and spend as much time with our kids and our family as possible. And so that's where, again, we're really strict also about, hey, outside of work hours, on weekends and things, we're not available. Like I don't want employees to be available. I don't want anyone, like our company is just like, we're quiet outside of those hours, we are absolutely here to help you when it's time that we're open. So we want to make sure there's a very good balance there. And that was the whole reason that we started this to begin with.
Love it. So you've got those complementary skills. You said this hard shut off, and I know it's hard as the entrepreneurs in the business to say, hey, we're done. It's 6 o'clock at night. Let's go be with the kids. Let's go be with the family. Do you guys wind up talking business and working on things at some level, or do you?
Yeah. We talk about business all the time. So that part is hard, but at least in terms of like anything related to like an emails is always the one thing that tends to leak, I think, for most people, because it's just so easy to access on your phone and see and like, oh, that seems important. I should jump on and do that. And I'm even a culprit of that at times where I read an email, I'm like, oh, like I need to go take care of that or else I'm gonna forget. And so we'll talk, like, before we even go and do that, we'll talk about like with each other, like, is this something okay that we can take care of? But we also don't want it to lead down a path that we're constantly having to like make these one-off excuses of having to work more after hours. Because again, time is not something that you can buy back no matter what. And our children are only, like, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. They're only so small for so long. And I can't believe they're already that old. So it's like, I don't want to be able to think like, oh, I missed these moments because I was so focused on growing our agency, thinking that was the most important thing. Because it's not. We're grateful that it has grown to where it is, but it's just a means to ensure that we're able to enjoy time with our families as much as we can.
I love it, man. I love that perspective. I hold those same values to be true. And, you know, I love working with you, Senia, and my wife. And I think that's great that you guys are able to pull that off and make it work, and that you're having so much success. I guess like one or two more questions as we wrap up. And if you guys have questions in the comments, post them in. Mindset wise, you're in finance. You decided you were going to start this agency. You've blown it up to 7 figures, and I have no doubt you're going to continue to grow. A lot of times people will have the same information with completely different outcomes. Well, like, what's your mindset for growth and for achievement that you think helps you accomplish what you have?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I've started doing, so I don't know if you guys have heard of Miracle Morning. It's a process where you spend some time meditating, spend some time reading, exercising, writing a journal, just different aspects. And so I started doing that, and I think it's been at least a year now, where I've just like ensured every morning, unless I'm like deathly sick and I know I need to sleep, like that's where I make sure I devote this certain amount. Sometimes it's less time than others if maybe I woke up a little later or what, but I devote this time in the morning to ensure that I get all my ducks in a row mentally. Because I was never a big believer on like the mental side of things. I always thought like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Like I'm happy. I'm like, I don't need this like self-help books. I thought was all like a hooky thing. I was like, you don't need to do that. But now all I do is like, I read self-help books. I do these things mentally, and it has helped so much in terms of just like setting up my day, ensuring that I can put our company, our family, everything in the best possible position for success that we can. And so as I stick to a rhythm, and writing out goals has been game changer in terms of just because we keep track of our goals. We do before the new year, we get a babysitter for the whole day, and we go somewhere, my wife and we make goals and plans for the whole coming year, what both business, personal, for our kids, everything. We lay it all out there. We write them all down. And then each month we review them, each quarter we review them and make adjustments if we need to. So yeah, very big on doing all that stuff.
Powerful. Love it. Love it. I think really your daily routines and like your daily conditioning really has a huge impact on your productivity and what you can accomplish. And so I'm glad that you said that. And that's part of what you do. And you're committed to that process, which starts your day right and gets you on the right track and keeps you taking action and being in a resourceful state. In Facebook comments where we have win the first hour of the day and you win the day. And obviously it seems like that's playing out to be true for you, Kelsey. So amazing, amazing stuff. Great insights. Last question as we start to wrap up here is, if you had one piece of wisdom for that other agency owner that's listening and it's like, you know, stuck wherever they are, maybe it's at the 20 grand level like you were at one point, or maybe they're like 50 or 60, or maybe they're just getting started. What would you say to that agency owner, you know, as a piece of wisdom to kind of help move them forward?
I mean, not to shamelessly plug your coaching agency, but I
No, go
absolutely,
for it.
absolutely sign up for Seven Figure Agency if you're on the fence on that. But other things to definitely do is just take action on, like, if you're feeling like that, maybe that should be something I should try. Just do it. Like, again, just don't hesitate and take advantage, take action at least for a month time frame, and then analyze what the value of that time spent was. If you're not getting a valuable ROI in your opinion from it, pivot and do something else. Like, so we quickly found that from cold calling. We did cold calling for like a month, and there were just we weren't getting anywhere. We weren't even getting to the point of getting to meet with people. If we did, they're like, why am I even here? And so that's where, like, we knew, okay, we need to pivot, do something different. So again, you won't find those things out without trying and doing different things, but don't try 100 things at one time. Just pick a thing, do it, analyze that. If it works, keep it going. If not, pivot, do different things. So yeah.
So good. Such a great piece of wisdom to wrap up on. Guys, be quick to implement, right? Kelsey and all the other members that have gone to multiple seven figures and seven figures quickly, they take action, right? They take action really, really quickly. But then the second part of that you just said, I think is really, really powerful, is you've got to look at the feedback, right? Take massive action and then look at the feedback loop and say, like, is this working or is it not? And if it's not, let's dump it and let's try something else. And let's be quick to implement it and then look and see, is it working? If it's working, let's double down on that and just keep taking massive action until you get where you want, which in Kelsey's case is seven figures. And I have no doubt multiple seven figures, and whatever Kelsey wants to create, the money, the freedom, and the impact that he wants in his life and his family. Kelsey, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Congratulations on your growth and success. Guys, be sure to tag Kelsey, find him on Facebook, thank him for sharing his wisdom, congratulate him for his abundance mindset, and anything you want to say as we wrap up here today, Kelsey.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to be on here and share a little bit about our story. Feel free, anyone, if this was, even if it wasn't a value add, but you at least want to reach out to me and talk to me, feel free to reach out. Obviously, like I mentioned, I'm on Facebook all the time because that's where a lot of our industry is. So feel free to add me, message me on there, and I'll do my best to be able to help you out.
Great stuff. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. Kelsey, congratulations, and we'll see you guys on a future episode of the Seven Figure Agency Podcast.